Number one is that it begins with near ideal friendship or partnership or maybe a romance. Now, what we're talking about are the 9 signs that you have been abused. And the first of those signs is that when the abuser first approaches you, when this person first comes into your life, they present themselves as a wolf in sheep's clothing, only they're really, really good at it. They are excellent actors. You actually believe this is a sheep. You actually believe this is a loving person. This is my buddy. This is my friend. This is a business associate that I can rely on and I can depend on. Now, here's where this gets tricky. What we're talking about again, 9 signs that we've been abused. This is the first sign. And where this gets tricky is there really are decent people out there. And the abuser is imitating those decent people. So how do you tell the difference? Many of us, particularly those of us who are empaths or who are Aspies, have Asperger syndrome. Those of us who are gullible and naive just can't tell the difference, and that's why we are targets. Now, I know people who can, it seems like they've got that sixth sense. You know, they can just identify these people and pick them out of a crowd almost immediately. On first contact, they know exactly what they're dealing with. Why don't I have that ability? I don't know, but I do know this. These people will come around me and try to take advantage of me every time they can. Now, because of that, we begin to move into defense mode, and that's what we're going to talk about with these next 9 points. My name is Ken. I'm nearly 70 years old, and over the decades, I've seen a thing or two. I've experienced many things, and I just want to share with you some of my experiences as a person who is diagnosed with Asperger syndrome. And if you're an Aspie, you've been an Aspie your whole life, so I've been there. I was there as a child. I was there middle-aged adult. Now as an older adult, a senior. I know what stage you're going through because if I'm not there now, I've been there before. So I'm coming to you from a point of somebody who's had experience. I call that my life's laboratory. Number one is this. One of the indicators, one of the 9 signs that you have been abused is that the abuse begins with a person who you trusted imminently because that is the way they wanted to present themselves. Sign number 2 is this. Once it's over, once you've found out this guy is scamming me or this guy is tricking me or this guy is abusing me or girl, whoever it happens to be, you tend to mistrust everybody. In fact, you may even write yourself a note, send yourself an email. Trust nobody. Just a reminder, you may stick a note, put it on your computer or whatever. Don't trust anybody. You've learned your lesson. It transcends mere caution. It's really kind of an overreaction. Okay, we got burned once and we're going to make sure that we never get burned again. Okay, number 3 is this. We are feeling oversensitive. It's almost a fear-like of, almost a phobia of just about everybody. We are over-cautious. We know that we fell for it once. And we know that there are people out there out to get us. And so we mistrust everyone, and then we become hypersensitive. Every time somebody talks to us, we think, yeah, sure, you're nice to me now, but just wait. After you scam me or after you hear gossip, you're not going to like me anymore. You're going to become my enemy. And so we just back away from everybody. And as a result of that, number 4, is we feel alone and isolated. Sometimes we just don't know where to turn. I mean, who do you turn to? You need somebody to talk to. You need someone to confide in. But the last time you confided in somebody, that somebody who was your dear friend, maybe a romantic partner, maybe a business associate, that person that you really confided in and trusted, that person turned out to use everything you told them about yourself against you. They took those bits of information that you shared with them confidentially in strictest confidence. And they were keeping record in their mind. Had this database going like a computer. You didn't even know it. And then after they were done scamming you and discarded you like a piece of tissue paper that's been used, then they tell everybody else all your secrets, only they embellish them. They make you sound much worse than you really are. Well, who do you trust? You feel isolated. You feel alone. You feel like it's you against the world. In fact, that would make a nice song. Maybe somebody should think of that. Number 5, as a result of that, we tend to disassociate with other people. That is, because we distrust them, we become extremely and over-the-top avoidant. We may even be diagnosed with avoidant personality disorder. By the way, that's perfectly understandable. It's not necessarily a good thing, but it is an understandable thing. So we begin building boundaries because we realize that what we should have done at the very beginning, before we even met this person, is we should have had boundaries in place, established boundaries, and let him or her or whomever, well, everybody know that I'm not as gullible as you think. I've got these boundaries set up, and they are set up in our minds. That's what we're thinking. We're going to set up these boundaries, do what we should have done in the first place, but we tend to overbuild. Think of a wall. We're encircled by this wall, and it's much, much, much higher than it should be. So high, nobody can get over it. Not just the bad guys, but nobody can get to you. It is so thick, nobody can penetrate it. You've got, figuratively speaking, you've got a moat filled with alligators built around your life and dare anybody to get anywhere near you. And once again, I got to emphasize, hey, that's totally understandable because of what you've gone through and probably are still going through. Because narcissists, abusers, psychopaths, these people don't stop. I mean, they get pleasure out of doing harmful things to you. They like that. The term that pop psychology uses is supply. So you become their supply. Supply of what? Well, supply of joy. They think it's fun, excitement. They're still after you. They always will be. And so to defend yourself, you build these walls that are so high and so thick that even the good people, the people who actually care about you, can't get through. That is self-destructive, and that brings us to number 6. And then number 6 is we disassociate with ourselves. Well, how do we do that? Well, what happens is we begin to believe the nonsense. Okay, so this narcissist, this psychopath, this bad person who came into your life is spreading these horrible things about you. We're going to talk about that in a moment. And they recruit these agents, we call them flying monkeys, and they're saying bad things about you. And it gets to you. And you begin realizing that people that you formerly trusted and thought were your good friends now give you that stare. They give you that dirty look. They don't want to talk about you. Talk to you rather. You approach them, try to have a conversation like you always had in the past, but now you can tell there's something different. You know why? Because they've been listening to this garbage that the psychopath, that the narcissist has been spreading, or one of his flying monkeys has been spreading, and it just goes viral. And you see this. It seems to be all over the place. The guy is, or the girl, thinking he's smart, thinking he's savvy, trying to isolate you, has done it, has succeeded. And as you encounter all these people who think you're a bad person, you may know that the lies are not true, flat out know it. But you wonder to yourself, if all these people think I'm bad, maybe I am bad. If I'm such a soft-shelled person, such a naive, gullible person, that this narcissist, this psychopath could do this to me, there's obviously something wrong with me. And we disassociate ourselves from our real selves. We become a bad person. maybe not believing again, maybe not believing the lies, but just in general, believing there's something wrong with us. Otherwise, the lies would not be there in the first place. How do you deal with that? Well, what I would suggest, by the way, there's always the importance of considering talking to a professional, to a counselor. Have a conversation. It may cost you some money, but if you need to have a conversation, you need to have a conversation. And if you can't afford it, consider contacting churches that have counseling programs. Sometimes they don't charge anything. I'd rather have a professional, but even counselors in churches go through counseling classes, and many of them know what they're doing. But if you need help, you need help. All right, so now you're dissociating with yourself. Stop and ask yourself this question. Is this really me? I mean, is this the person that I used to be? Is this the real me? So you got this fight going on in your mind, and the influenced mind is saying the real you is a bad person. But the real mind is saying, no, it's not. So you need to decide which side you're going to go on. And the side you need to go on is the side that says the real person is not the bad person that you are convinced or are being convinced that you are. So one of the signs is being disassociated with yourself. Taking on that persona of the bad person. Not an evil person, but just feeling like the person who is just flawed. Something wrong with me. Number 7, sign that you have been abused or are still being abused, is rumination obsession. We're talking about thinking, just thoughts. And these often come in the form of what we call should statements. That people should not do that. And I should not have fallen for that. And I should have done this thing, or I should have stood up at this point, or I should have built boundaries. And we think about all the things that are going on in our minds and in our lives and how these people have hurt us. We become obsessed with those thoughts. That is rumination. That is a sign, an indicator that you have been abused. You've been hurt. When you've been hurt, you need help, you know. If you've been wounded, you need to treat the wound. And you know, there are some people out there, I hate to say it, but there are some people out there who aren't happy unless they're unhappy. They like being wounded. Makes them feel good. It makes them feel like a victim. People like to be victims. So they stay victims. I'm sorry, but that's just dumb. That's just nonsensical. Now, during the years when I was a pastor, I saw this all the time. People love to be hurt. They love to have their feelings hurt, like to feel bad, so they can make you feel bad. That is an outcome, often, of rumination. Sometimes we like to ruminate. We like to feel bad. We like to blame other people. It gives us a sense of justice. I was hurt so bad. Okay, but you're stuck in the mud. You're stuck in rumination. You are exactly where the narcissist or the psychopath or the abuser wants you. You're being controlled and you don't even know it. They're inside your head. They put you in that place where you are almost dysfunctional, where you're beginning to lash out at people who are perfectly good people. Number 8 is this, the smear campaign. We've been alluding to that the whole time. But if the narcissist, the psychopath, the abuser has been recruiting people, these are abusers by proxy, has been recruiting people through gossip, through viral gossip, slander. That's a smear campaign. And if that is happening to you, you are being abused. You have been abused. It's a clear indicator sign. Sometimes it goes as far as gaslighting. What is the difference between the smear campaign and gaslighting? Not much, but there's one little difference. In gaslighting, the abuser is not only trying to convince other people that you're a bad guy, but he or she is also trying to convince you that you are a bad person. That's what makes gaslighting gaslighting. That's where the smear campaign takes that next step in a full-blown gaslighting. Don't let them get inside your head. Stop and think. Again, which you is the true you? The gaslighted you or the person that you know that you really are? Okay, finally, number 9 is this. If as a result of having a relationship with this friend, this associate, this romantic person, whatever, has led to deep depression, stress, anxiety, that is a strong indication. That is a red flag. That is a sign that, you have actually been abused, still are being abused. And again, that's also a strong indicator that you might want to consider getting counseling. Go talk to somebody who is a professional, who has studied and gone through these things. By the way, YouTube, I think, is great in helping us come to terms with some of these difficulties, with some of these challenges. I've been there. I can tell you what I've been through. But you need to sometimes take that step further. And you need to talk to somebody who has spent years of their lives sometimes, years of their lives, studying how the mind works. And then they have years of experience. Those are the people that you need to sit down and have a conversation with. This doesn't have to end. I mean, this conversation that we're having right now, you go on a very long time because you see those 2 rectangles on the screen. If you just click on them, we just keep on talking because we have a lot to talk about the abuse of narcissists and about the difficulties faced by people with Asperger syndrome.